Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, we are from group 1. As a college students, we perhaps have heard about qualitative research. In this occasion, we will explain about the qualitative research method. Before we go to the explanation, let me introduce you members of group 1. They are Anggun Syafira, Azellah Fitri, Alifah Hairani, Indah Wulandari, and Arif AlDaffa. Okay, so now let's hear the explanation.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is AlDaffa with name 2020-5060. And now I will explain about qualitative research. Qualitative researcher seeks to comprehend, study participants' behavior, perspective, motives, and behavior using words and language in a natural setting and natural techniques. Qualitative research has fewer respondents or study objects than quantitative because it prioritizes data depth above data quantity. There is also 5 qualitative methods. The first one is phenomenology, the second is ethnography, the third is case study research, the fourth is grounded theory, and the last is historical research. Phenomena approach is included in pure qualitative research because its implementation is based on efforts to understand and describe the intrinsic characteristic of the phenomena that occur in oneself. I think that's all. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
So thank you for Arif AlDaffa for the explanation. Now I will continue about the ethnographic. So ethnographic is study examines how people in a society use language to communicate. It also examines how language shape and function society. So here is the characteristic of ethnography. The first is cultural themes, and the second is a culture sharing group, and the next is based on field work and description in ethnography, context and researcher reflexivity. It's about the cultural themes. The ethnography research focuses on developing culture and implementing by a particular ethnic group. Next is a culture sharing group. This second characteristic implies that ethnography research can be carried out on 2 or more people with the same attitude, language, and behavior. The third is based on field work. Data in ethnographic research is taken by utilizing ethnographers going directly to the field or the research location. The next is research description. It contains the detailed description and explanation of what object did during the research. Next is context. Context in ethnographic research is overall setting of the place, situation, or environment surrounding and cultural. The last one is researcher reflexivity. This characteristics means that conscious and open attitude towards the researcher's role will create the feeling of reliance. The characteristics there are also the types of ethnography. So there are 2 types of ethnography. The first, realistic ethnography. Realistic ethnography shows object conditions in a cultural group reported from the third person of point of view. And for the critical ethnography, it is also the popular one. This critical ethnography approach is research that tries to respond to ongoing social issues like gender, status quo, inequality of rights, and equality. The next qualitative methods is case study. So case study investigate the case or social phenomenon's origins, conditions, and relationship. Case study are conducted on on an unidentified system, such as a program and even of a group of people in a given situation. Case study research is a method to use or finds problems in depth about an individual, group, institution, social movement, or even related to the phenomenon, context, and time. Therefore, this case study research is closely related to the present situation. Okay, also the case study research also have the characteristic. So the characteristics are: a study has characteristic to be said to be good research, viewing the object of research as a case or problem, viewing cases as contemporary phenomena, based on the facts or existing facts, using various data and appropriate theory as a guide or research references. So that's all for my explanation. Thank you.
Okay, the other qualitative method research is grounded theory. Grounded theory is the qualitative research method that uses a set of systematic procedures to inductively develop a theory about a phenomenon. This method starts from a statement that is still vague and finally produces a theory that is collected from various data. Grounded theory was originally developed in the 1960s by sociologists Bernie Glaser and Anselm Storrs, whose research discovery of grounded theory were published in 1967. Grounded theory technique use observation as a field studies to collect data and compare categories, phenomena, and situation using inductive, deductive, and verification investigation until the data was saturated. Grounded theory's goal is to generate hypotheses based on conceptual ideas. This qualitative research method can be explained in both qualitative and quantitative research. The purpose of the grounded theory method is to assess the effects of social behavior. The last type of qualitative method is the historical method. The history method is a qualitative research that describes and examines past events to better understand the present and to anticipate potential effects on the future. To identify the need for knowledge that requires historical inquiry, bringing history together, especially when no one lived to tell their story. The goal of the historical method is to look to the past to inform the future. This method uses historical facts and witnesses to recreate the past. The data can be found in historical documents, artifacts, verbal accounts, and credible living integrity. Okay, for the next material is about participant in qualitative research method and will be explained by the next presenter.
Okay, so thank you, Indah. I will continue the material. Qualitative data collection. Qualitative data is collected by observation, documentation, and interviews. For instance, interview and etc. are utilized to learn instructors' opinion about the new curriculum. It is also study how a teacher produces a vibrant classroom. For the interviewer, there is deep interview with general instructions, open standard interview, structured interview, and unstructured interview, and semi-structured interview. For the deep interview, the interviewer and interview have a familiar connections, thus the search is casual. For the interviewer with general instructions, this type of interview require the interviewer to develop a framework or outline of the subject in the form of interview instruction. For the open standard interview, using a set of standard questions, namely questions with the exact wordings, quest, and presentations method for all interview information. And then, for the next is structured interview. The interviewer set his problem and questions to ask. For the unstructured interview stress exception, definitions, unexpected interpretation, reinterpretations, persuade, expert viewpoint, or solidarity perspective. For the semi-structured interview, an open-ended interview is underway, so the researcher's persons reply prompt further inquiries, which intensifies information mined during the session. So for the interview guideline, it's for the first one, interview guideline makes an interview run effectively according to the plan prepared. Second, the interview process went according to plan. The interview can collect and swear from information as desired by the researcher. It is easier for researchers to classify the data. Researchers concentrate more on submitting questions according to the focus of the study and research, and the last is anticipating missed question. So I think that's all for my explanation. Thank you very much. Next to the
Okay, I will explain the next material. Observation. Observation is a systematic and purposeful exploration of occurrences, especially with the eyes that may be examined afterward. The observation main goal is the description. The quality of research is determined by how far the deep researchers understand the situation and context and describe it as naturally as possible. In addition, observation don't have to be carried out by the researchers themselves, so researchers can ask for help from the others to carry out observation. Next, documentation. Documentation derived from the words document or written products. The term documentation technique refers to processes for gathering data by documenting data that already exists. A data gathering approach that is utilized to track down vast information is called the documentation. Next, focus group discussion. The VGD techniques involves investigating a specific phenomena via the conversation of a group of people. The approach places an emphasis on the comparative endeavors of the people who are involved in the phenomenon in order to arrive at the consensus. Next, qualitative data analysis. Stage of doing thematic analysis. 1. Understanding data. 2. Composing codes. 3. Searching for themes. 1. Understanding data. Here the researchers need to understand and integrate with the qualitative data obtained. In addition, reading and rereading interview transcripts, as well as listening to interview recordings or seeing films generated during the process of data collection, is the most efficient approach to become more integrated with the data. 2. Composing codes. Beginning the coding process in the second step in the performing a thematic analysis of the data. This coding can be compared to the process that the librarian does to identify the topic of the book's title. 3. Searching for themes. The research objectives need to be reflected in the theme. This theme identifies anything significant in the data that is the connect to the strategy used to formulate the research problem. Next, data trustworthiness. The process of determining whether or not qualitative research is accurate and reliable is referred to as verifying the validity of the data. The concept of data trustworthiness covers the requirements for the degree to which the data are credible, transferable, development, and confirmable. Okay, I think that's all. Back to moderator.
Okay everyone, so that's all our explanation about qualitative research method. We apologize if there are still many shortcomings or errors in our presentation. And thank you so much for your attention and thank you so much for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.